glad you could join us. NAU is actively working to restore and preserve a forested area near Flagstaff. Inside NAU's Alexa Dumity has the story.
Thanks, Teresa. The land is about 6 miles southwest of Flagstaff and is part of the Rogers Lake Natural Area and NAU's Centennial Forest. These NAU students are part of a group restoring more than 500 acres of forest. Coconino County bought this land using some voter-approved park and open space funds.
It was overly dense, it was at huge risk for wildfire. There's a lot of mistletoe infection out here. Insect and bug are slowly taking over the land, and so it was in desperate need of help. And they approached the NAU Centennial Forest because we used to be the managers of the land and said, what do we do? How can we help?
Forestry students and NAU researchers have been studying forest restoration for years, and they came up with a plan to return this land to pre-settlement conditions.
So what we did was, for every piece of pre-settlement evidence that we found, we would keep 3 trees.
Before settlers came to this area and cattle grazed on the forest floor, there were about 20 trees per acre. That number skyrocketed to hundreds of trees an acre, creating an unhealthy habitat.
So we've got the orange mark out here for all the keep trees, and then everything else would be cut.
Returning the forest to pre-settlement conditions also will create more wildlife corridors.
Right now, like we've been saying, it's very dense and it's at high risk for wildfire, and animals do kind of tend to avoid this area. But by improving the condition of the forest, we're improving their habitat, which will allow them to come into this area more.
And while there are many benefits to forest restoration, many Flagstaff residents are especially eager for one particular improvement.
The main concern for this area was to reduce the fire hazard. With that reduction, you have less fuels on the ground, but you also don't have that continuous canopy for the fire to catch and just constantly spread.
Ultimately, it's a safety hazard for everyone. Being so close to town, this is a huge risk for fire. And you know, a forest that's burned down and is all matchsticks is not a healthy forest.
Because this land is owned by Coconino County, the project's approval process was expedited. In addition to reducing wildfire risk, the project created a unique educational experience.
So for Casey and I to be able to come out here and inventory it and see the current stand conditions and then mark it, doing a pre-settlement evidence mark for restoration, and then actually now we're out here and we get to see it being cut, we get to see the results of our work, and I think that's a really unique and cool thing, and that really lets us take all the things that we're learning in school and that our teachers are teaching us and really applying it to like real world experiences.
Coconino County has plans to continue preservation of Rogers Lake. The plans include developing a trail system and areas for wildlife viewing. For Inside NAU, I'm Alexa Dumity.
When we return, we'll hear more about Rogers Lake from Cheryl Miller of NAU's Centennial Forest.